up, guys? It's Kelly from Kelly's Unexplained, and it's Monday. No, it's not Monday. It's Tuesday. Sorry, I'm a day late. Yeah, so I came into close contact with someone with COVID, and now I'm quarantined for 2 weeks. And I was feeling fine until literally yesterday, and it hit me pretty hard. So I laid down and took some medicine, and I still don't feel well, but you know I'm going to upload this video anyway. If you are new to my channel, on Mondays I upload about true crime, cryptids, urban legends, myths, things like that. And on Fridays, I upload about paranormal hauntings. As you can see from the title and the thumbnail, this story is about Oscar Pistorius and his girlfriend, Reeva. I don't know about you, but I remember when this came out several years ago, and I heard a lot about it, but I never found out what actually happened, if he was found guilty or not. You're probably going to stop and Google it. But just wait, watch. I will tell you. Just be patient.
Was it, as the state alleges, premeditated murder? Or was it, as Oscar Pistorius claims, an innocent but dreadful accident?
All he said to me was, there's been a terrible accident. Reeva's been shot. I've shot Reeva.
This was by far one of her favourite dresses. She was just the most incredible, bubbly person.
Enough will never ever be enough for him, in the sense that he will always drive himself to achieve better.
Computer graphics Pistorius' house has been recreated, and the defense's forensic pathologist gives his first interview.
She was shot in the region of the right hip. She was shot in the right arm, and she was shot in the head.
Is there a darker side to the blade line?
Yes, he threatened me. Yes, he was aggro, and yes, he was very aggressive on the phone, and yes, he did threaten to break my legs.
Over the years, I think as more as fame and success and money came into his life, I saw a very different Oscar.
They're going to uncover the facts and the truth.
This was one of the biggest stories to ever come out of South Africa, except for 20 years before the release of Nelson Mandela. So this became an international sensation worldwide and in South Africa, obviously.
It's hard to imagine how a modern-day celebrity who had everything loses it all. But this secure, quiet, suburban estate in early morning hours of Valentine's Day was awoken by shouts, screams, and gunshots coming from the house of one of South Africa's most beloved sons. Oscar Pistorius has shot his new girlfriend, hitting her at least 3 times. He says it's an accident. He's mistaken her for a burglar. She's still alive, but barely. At 3:19, he calls a neighbor for help. At 3:20, he calls the hospital. He is crying and sobbing. He carries her downstairs to the ground floor, but it's too late.
All indications are that she died en route to the bottom where they lay their body downstairs. She died at or about that point.
At 3:30, the ambulance arrives. At 3:55, Oscar calls a friend, Justin Tavares, who had introduced him to Reeva. He's only given one interview and has declined all others. Here is his brief interview.
All he said to me was, there's been a terrible accident. Reeva's been shot. I've shot Reeva. And then the neighbor picked up the phone. The neighbor was already in the house, a young lady. By the time I got there was a whole lot of police there. The ambulance had already come and gone. It was already a crime scene. I wasn't allowed in the house. Lying at the bottom of the stairs, covered in towels. Oscar was being detained in the garage. He was totally incoherent. He just kept saying, I killed my baby. He called her my brother, my baby. God take me away. And he was sobbing the whole time.
Good morning, I'm Lynn O'Connor. We continue with our breaking news coverage of a shooting in Pretoria. Olympic and Paralympic star Oscar Pistorius has been taken into custody after he allegedly shot and killed a woman believed to be his girlfriend.
I was completely shocked by what happened, and I think that shock began to set in even more throughout the day as a fuller picture began to emerge, because the initial reports that we were hearing that were coming out were about the fact that Oscar Pistorius had shot his girlfriend thinking that she was an intruder. And then the police came out and gave an impromptu press conference outside his home.
We have also taken cognizance of the media reports during the course of the morning of an alleged break-in, or that the young lady was allegedly mistaken to be a burglar. Obviously, our forensic investigation is still ongoing. We're not sure where this report came from. It definitely didn't come from the South African Police Service.
And all of a sudden, the picture changed, and we began to think, well, maybe that's not the version. Maybe there's more to this. Maybe this isn't a tragedy. Perhaps there was intent. Perhaps there was a crime that was committed here.
If there was intent, what had happened to cause Oscar Pistorius to shoot his girlfriend Reeva Steencamp, a former law student whose photogenic looks were igniting her to stardom? That year, she was the big new name in a celebrity reality show set in Jamaica.
You literally fall in love with Jamaica. You fall in love with being in love with love. It's just one love everywhere. But I'm going home with sort of a sweet taste in my mouth. I don't have any regrets. I don't have any bitterness. I take home with me so many amazing memories and things that are in here and that are in here that I'll treasure forever. I think the way that you go out, not just your journey in life, but the way that you go out and you make your exit is so important. You either made an impact in a positive way or a negative way, but just maintain integrity and maintain class and just always be true to yourself. And I'm gonna miss you all so much, and I love you very, very much.
This beautiful, beautiful smile, and her eyes always lit up. She was very smart, and she had this way with words to... Every single time I was upset or I cried, I'd land up laughing. It was just her way of making me happy and making people happy in general. Your immediate thoughts when you see someone that beautiful is it's impossible to have someone so magnificent on the inside as she is on the outside.
Wasn't one soul who had a bad word to say about Reeva. Warren LaHood went out with her for 5 years, and they remained close friends.
She was really loving, she was giving, and that's what I'm gonna really miss. I mean, I can't pick up the phone and say hello and hear that warm voice of hers, and you know, that's the hardest part of this whole thing.
Local celebrity tattooist Pepe Demiski also knew her from her early days in Johannesburg.
I met Reeva in my shop about actually maybe close to 5 years ago.
So how many tattoos of hers did you do?
I did two of her tattoos. The first one, it was a kind of long sentence, something like a poem on her back. The second one was writing on her ankles. So, I mean, woman with such a big character and personality and charisma. She was an amazing person. I mean, slowly she became kind of famous in a model fashion industry, and yeah, she was exactly the same person.
2012 was her breakthrough year when she started to get noticed. She was on the cover of FHM, and soon she was on the radar of all the top celebrity magazines, including Heat.
I should go through a few of the pictures. She was always on the social scene. These are also some great exclusive photos of her playing with some puppies at Puppy Haven, a charity here in South Africa. And this was at her birthday party in August last year. With Reeva, last year her name kept on popping up, and she kept on popping up at events and on the red carpet. And then this reality show happened. And then with the Oscar relationship, with him being one of the biggest stars in South Africa, that was when we decided, okay, you know, this girl is definitely, she's here now. She's beautiful. She's really lovely. She's a pleasure to work with. She's dating one of the biggest stars in the world. And that was kind of the moment where we decided, right, it's time to go with her and to follow her career.
Oscar and Reeva, a huge and lucrative new media brand, was emerging, and Heat magazine wanted to own it.
Yeah, that's her and Oscar. This is quite a rare picture from a friend's engagement party.
Porter Sonia Roth was assigned to stay close to Reeva.
She was a breath of fresh air. She really was beautiful, as beautiful on the outside as she was inside. She would always make time for you, no matter what it was. She just, I keep saying, she had such a beautiful soul.
But Oscar and Reeva had only started dating about 3 months earlier. It was still early in their relationship.
They wanted to keep the relationship private for as long as possible and not do media for as long as possible because they didn't want the media to taint the relationship.
Obviously, the relationship was only a few months old, and that was one of the biggest factors as to why they didn't really want to come out with it as of yet, because it was still new. And she really didn't want anything to taint that.
Because we were pursuing them for this cover story and they had agreed, we still needed to get a date secured with them for the shoot.
She made a huge emphasis on how much she did adore him and admired him, and in what high esteem she held him. It was really lovely to see them together, and I think a beautiful model on the rise with one of our biggest sporting stars had great potential to be one of the golden couples in SA. I think once that they came out with their relationship, which would have been in our exclusive cover with them, it really would have escalated. They would have gotten a lot more attention, and it really would have been huge.
London 2012. The crowd embraced the glory of Oscar Pistorius. He makes history by becoming the first double amputee to compete in the Olympics and one of the stars of the Paralympics. It was the climax of a remarkable story. The gold medal runner born without fully formed legs, both amputated before the knee at just 11 months old.
When they were youngsters growing up, his mom always used to say to him and to his brother, your brother Carl puts his shoes on and you put your legs on. There's no difference between the two of you. Get out there and do it. And I think that the way his life started out was what drove him to where he is today, that he was able to just keep pushing himself and realize whatever an able-bodied person could do, I could do as well.
He allowed a BBC crew inside his house in 2009 and recalled his greatest influence, his devoted and determined mother, who never lived to see his success.
My mother was also a huge influence on my life. You know, she never really told us what to do, but she gave us great guidelines, and you know, I really think in the situations that I've had since her passing, you know, I've really, the lessons that she taught me have really helped me to deal with those things. About 4 weeks before she passed away, she wrote me a letter, and in the letter she said, look after those legs that run so fast, train, don't strain, you know, and it was kind of like, you know, I wasn't even involved with athletics at the time, but I think she was a very wise woman, and you know, the lessons that she taught me definitely have helped me, you know, I think, and definitely inspired me in the last couple of years being an athlete.
Fast and getting faster. Meet Oscar Pistorius. On the track, they call him Blade Runner.
Oscar was 17 with braces. He won gold at the 2004 Paralympics in Athens. He used prosthetic blades called cheaters, which gave him the nickname of the Blade Runner. Remarkably, he had only started athletics 8 months before the Olympic Games, a regime that requires the greatest levels of grit and determination. He quickly became a favorite in the team.
Harder than any of the other guys do. I put in more hours, I eat better, I sleep better, I rest better, and overall I think I'm a more diligent, I train better than the other guys.
Now, Oscar, welcome. Are you going to be the man to make history and compete in the Olympics?
Quickly was a favorite in TV. He was friendly, polite, and looked good on camera. He was on his way of being an international super figure.
Guys of the sport. Going to be hurting a little bit losing that 100, but he demonstrates just how good he is and why he comes here with such a big reputation.
For Oscar Pistorius, it wasn't just about the Paralympics. He took on the world's top athletic authorities and won. He became a sponsorship magnet, a global multi-million-dollar icon.
Confidence in my ability as an athlete and in the kind of faith that my coach has had in me. So although there have been seasons where I've missed my targets and have made them, I've stayed dedicated and I haven't had any space for doubts in my mind.
Have you got a lot of sponsors?
Yeah, I've got some really good sponsors, you know, and they've been looking after me. I think most of the sponsors I'm with to date I've been with for a very long time, like Nike and Oakley, and a IT company called Cispro. There's a South African bank called Nedbank, and then you know, my biggest sponsor and the ones that look after me are Pirelli. You know, I've really been all the time we spend in Italy, and when I'm based there in most of the months in the European summer, they're really the company that really helps me out with a lot of the things that I do there.
And do you think the marketability of Paralympic athletes is a lot lower than Olympic athletes as a rule?
I think it has been in the past, but I think it's definitely stepping up.
Arriving at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, February 13th at Oscar's estate, these are the last photos of her alive, captured on security CCTV, seemingly happy and smiling and bringing with her his Valentine's present. Oscar was filmed arriving 10 minutes after that. Later that night, Reeva tweeted,
"What do you have up your sleeve for your love tomorrow?"
The morning before, she had been with her best friend, Gina Myers.
She was here. I was getting ready. I was doing my hair, and she was getting ready for a meeting, and I was getting ready to go to work. And when she left, she told me I was going to be awesome and that she loved me. And then I ran out, and then I gave her a hug, and then she left.
Later that day, Reeva met up with her ex-boyfriend and friend, Warren, for lunch.
I saw Reeva on the Tuesday, the 12th of February. She contacted me and we met up for a quick coffee, and that was it. And she seemed fine.
Oscar Pistorius called her twice during that lunch meeting.
I said, "Is everything okay?" I mean, he's phoned twice already, every 20 minutes. I asked her that question. She said there's nothing wrong. She always told me that she wouldn't be with anybody that she felt unhappy with, or she wouldn't allow herself to be with somebody like that.
Gina Myers was in contact with Reeva throughout the Tuesday and Wednesday, February 13th.
We generally chatted throughout the day. We had chatted in the morning and we had chatted during the afternoon. And even though I saw her in the morning and the evening every day, we still spoke throughout the day. Phone calls, texts.
That evening, February 13th, she texted her friend it was too late to drive home and that she would be staying the night with Oscar at his place.
My mom and dad don't really sleep unless they know that we're safe or where we are. So it's just a general rule. If you're going to sleep out or if wherever you are, just let us know. That was actually the first night in a while we hadn't said goodnight, I love you.
Oscar Pistorius said in the early hours of February 14th, him and Reeva were asleep in his bedroom. Using plans of the property, here is a rendition of the house. Pistorius says it was important to remember in the middle of the night, and it was dark. In his version of the events, he was usually on the left side of the bed. He had asked her to switch sides that night due to a pain in his shoulder. Here are the words of his sworn testimony.
"I woke up, went onto the balcony to bring the fan in and close the sliding doors, the blinds, and the curtains. I heard a noise in the bathroom and realized that someone was in the bathroom."
Too scared to switch on the lights, he says he did not put on his prosthetic legs, but walked on his stumps towards the noise.
I grabbed my 9mm pistol from underneath my bed. On my way to the bathroom, I screamed the words to the effect for him or them to get out of my house and for Reeva to phone the police. It was pitch dark in the bedroom, and I thought Reeva was in bed.
From the bathroom doorway, he says he sees an open window. He again hears noises, and they're coming from behind the closed door of the toilet area. He opens fire with his 9mm pistol.
I fired shots at the toilet door and shouted to Reeva to phone the police. She did not respond, and I moved backwards out of the bathroom, keeping my eyes on the bathroom entrance. Everything was pitch dark in the bedroom, and I was still too scared to switch on a light. Reeva was not responding. When I reached the bed, I realized that Reeva was not in bed. That is when it dawned on me that it could have been her who was in the toilet. I returned to the bathroom, calling her name. I tried to open the toilet door, but it was locked. I rushed back into the bedroom and opened the sliding door, exiting onto the balcony, and screamed for help.
Only at this point, he said, did he turn on the light and put his prosthetic legs on, before returning to the bathroom and then breaking down the door. Prominent forensic pathologist Reggie Paramole was flown in by Oscar's defense team to examine all the crime scene evidence and to attend Reeva's autopsy.
She was shot in the region of her right hip. She was shot in the right arm, and she was shot in the head. There was also a shot on one of the fingers of the left hand. So whether there are 3 shots or 4 shots, it won't be easy to say at this stage.
His bail hearing, the prosecution presented a very different version of events than what Oscar said. Several witnesses were around that said that they heard screaming, yelling, fighting between the couple, and then gunshots. Oscar's maid actually lived right behind them, kind of adjacent to it, but there was a fence in between and kind of a really loud water feature, so she said she didn't hear anything. The prosecution paints a different picture from Oscar's accounts. They say he got out of bed, put on his prosthetics, armed himself, and purposely walked to the bathroom where Reeva had locked herself in with her phone. The prosecution further alleges that Pistorius wanted to kill, and his motive was that she was cheating. When there's an argument, you crack, you take out a gun, and you fire. Prosecution says his back was to the sink when he started firing. Crucially, he says he was shooting 1.5 meters from the door. The 4 bullets had a downward trajectory from a normal stance, so this means he had his legs on.
I have been to the scene, but unfortunately one very important aspect of the scene was not there. It was taken away. That is the door. The door is important to us, and we really need to get access to it soonest, because the trajectory of the projectiles through the door will give us a very good idea where the shotist was standing. All this will be tied up with the trajectory on the body of the deceased, together with one bullet or projectile mark on one of the walls.
The defense argued actually that the witnesses were flawed because they had changed the distance of where they were when they heard these sounds. The first time the witnesses said that they were 600 yards away, and then they came back and said, oh, no, we were 300 yards away. But the problem with that is the defense actually tested both 600 yards, 300 yards, and they could not hear any yelling at all from the apartment when they had tested this theory out. It was only at 50 yards away from the fighting where they actually could hear someone inside of the apartment. So that was thrown out the window. The prosecution also had another problem besides the witnesses' testimony. The main investigator at the crime scene did not wear shoes and kind of tainted the evidence, as well as he actually had another charge against him for violence and assault, which they took him off the case, and he later resigned from the force. So there was all kinds of issues regarding the prosecution's case in the first place.
I've come to the conclusion that the accused has made a case to be released on bail.
He did get bail on condition he stays under house arrest in Pretoria. He's been banned from drinking. The judge did raise 5 key questions. The 5 key questions that the judge raised at the bail hearing was, 1, why didn't you check to see where Reeva was before you started firing the gun? The second question that she raised was, why did you switch sides of the bed? It just happened to be that night. It was kind of a coincidental type thing. The third question that the judge raised was, obviously the neighbors heard something, so who did they hear? There was some screaming, so she believed that there were fighting and that they were arguing. And he wasn't obviously arguing and fighting with the burglar. The next one is he claims that it was an accident, that he didn't mean to shoot at the door, that it was involuntary. But then the judge says, well, that goes against your self-defense theory because you literally shot the gun 4 times. It didn't obviously discharge accidentally 4 different times. And if it was an accident, then your self-defense case goes out the door. Last question that she posed was, were they fighting? Did they have arguments before? And I'm not talking about the ones that the witnesses heard. I'm talking about texting between them the day before about her going to visit her ex-boyfriend, or him actually exchanging flirtatious texts with another woman.
I watched him as a kid in Form 2 playing rugby with the able-bodied guys in the school. And on the one day, they tackled him out of his prosthesis. And he jumped up and he said to the guy, look what you've done to me, look what you've done, you've broken my leg right off. And the guy got such a fright. And then Oscar patted him on the back and said, don't worry, mate. And he clipped his leg back on and carried on with the game. And I always thought, this is a special kid.
It's hard to believe because it's a side of Oscar that I never really saw. I've always known him as a really compassionate and very affectionate person. He was always the one guy that wanted to give you a hug, give you a kiss, what's up. You know, he just was a close friend to everyone.
Did he ever talk to you about Reeva?
I knew he'd been dating a girl that he was smitten over. But Reeva in herself is an amazing young girl. She's a beautiful girl. Her family, I know the father, and they are amazing people. And just a tragedy about this poor girl because she was an amazing person. I was unfortunate enough to hear from my wife. I was coming off the track in the morning and she phoned me and she was beside herself and she was crying and said to me that Oscar had a terrible accident and his girlfriend was involved in a shooting. I went onto the news straight away and I kept following it and tried to get hold of Carl and the family and they didn't take calls. So we've been battling. Obviously, I can understand where they're coming from. This kid must be besides himself.
Incredible journey. When I think I met him for the first time probably 10 years ago. It was soon after his mother passed away. And I just met this incredible, humble kid who had the world at his feet. Amazing kid, just the drive, the positiveness. I was in awe of him. I thought, what an incredible person. A kid that's got this disability, doesn't let it get him down. It was the real Oscar. And then sadly, over the years, I think as more as fame and success and money came into his life, I saw a very different Oscar.
A very different Oscar. One that was surrounded by money and fame, horses, motorcycles, and guns. First, the stories of recklessness. At age 19, he nearly killed himself in a car crash, driving 400 miles through the night with what he describes as a horrible fight with an ex-girlfriend. He also fell asleep at the wheel. He admits he was unforgivably reckless and stupid. In February 2009, at age 23, he displayed more recklessness. He crashed his speedboat into a submerged pier, smashed his face to bits, and was airlifted to the hospital, which later in a sports interview, he detailed his extensive injuries.
And actually in this picture is probably the best one to describe it. You can hear out of all these CAT scans and MRIs and stuff, you can actually see where the doctors have highlighted several here, and they've got where I broke my cheekbone here, and I broke the floor bone of my eye, and here I broke part of my nose. There I broke the bridge off my nose. I had my jaw wide on. That came off last week, and since then I've been eating steak literally every single day.
Next emerges stories of aggressive behavior. In September 2009, Pistorius was arrested at a neighbor's party and was charged with assaulting a girl. In the end, no action was taken as she was scared and dropped the charges. But the word on the street was that Oscar was attracting trouble.
I bothered to get off the property, and I was actually on the way to the police station to just open a report, and they'd already arrived at my house, so it was a bit of a mass confusion, and it ended up just turning completely sour. And you know, the next morning, I had to spend the night in jail, which I never ever thought I would have to do.
Everyone hear bad stories about him, not such a good stories. The people I come to or hear from. Even a friend of mine, Mark Batchelor, the football player, had issues with him. They speak on the phone and Oscar threatened him that he's gonna break his legs. That's actually ridiculous.
Talking with Mark, he says there had been a fight over an ex-girlfriend.
And it's Oscar, what's your effing problem with me, boy? So I told him I'm not your boy, and we had a few words, and then he started threatening me and telling me how he's going to F me up and break my legs, and I was basically laughing because, and this is not being disrespectful to rude to anybody, but Oscar, he doesn't have any legs. What is he going to do? I'm double his size. I do a bit of boxing. I'm not scared to take on anybody, but I'll never ever do that. If I had to do something to Oscar, what am I? I'm a bully, and so I actually laughed it off.
When that didn't work, Oscar went to the police and said that Mark had threatened him.
In the last 5 years, there were incidents that have happened, that things that felt like the bubble was about to burst.
Who was making these things disappear?
It's a good question. The allegations of how some of these cases did disappear. They disappeared very quickly, whether it be the media, whether it be on the management side, because no sponsor wants to be involved with somebody who's got something, this kind of allegations against him of some kind of, whether it be verbal or physical abuse. So at the end of the day, these things did disappear very quickly. As I said, no one wanted to dig deeper into Oscar Pistorius. How tough, as I said before, how tough it's been for him with a disability to be able to fight for the right to run with able-bodied athletes. His whole life has been a fight.
Just because there were 1 or 2 stories in the past about Oscar that weren't positive doesn't mean there's something brewing, behind the scenes. Maybe there is, but we don't know that. The fact that somebody, dropped an assault charge or that he was, crashed a boat because he was drunk, like none of that is proof that this man was capable of shooting somebody and killing them purposefully. I would hate to make a judgment like that. And I think everybody's trying to dig now, and they're trying to see, were there signs? I don't think it's fair to do that.
One of the things that I noticed about the friends of Oscar's that were interviewed is it seems that the men that were friends with him, always seemed to support him, no matter what he did or what kind of facts and evidence was against him. And I don't know if that's like bro code, that, that's your bro, dude. No, I got your back. But, come on, guys. If your fellow dude is, like, killing people, like, don't support that. Yeah, not cool. Men, on the other hand, all said the same thing, that he was possessive, controlling, that he would call them all the time, where are you at? I didn't give you permission to wear that. You need to check in with me. It didn't matter if they were dating a couple of weeks, a year. He just seemed to exhibit that very controlling, narcissistic behavior that led to violence.
Darker side to Oscar. What did you make of that?
I wouldn't say a darker side. I think if people want to say it's an aggressive side, I would say every young man's got an aggressive side to him, no more than you or me. I didn't ever see it as a bad side. I always thought that his aggression was what fueled his success, to be as competitive as he was as an athlete.
My theory is that he found out that she had gone to lunch 2 days before with her ex-boyfriend of 5 years. They had been dating for 5 years. Still remained good friends with him and had a lunch date. We're talking 2 days before Valentine's Day. She came home. He found out about it and got pissed. That's my theory. Prosecution did find in their review of his phone that he had been texting flirty messages with other women the whole time that he was dating Reeva. There was a big argument in the middle of the night. She starts crying, goes to the bathroom, takes her phone with her, either probably to call her friend or text her friend about what's going on, locks herself in the bathroom. So he gets pissed, thinking she's on the phone with another man, and that's when all this happens. Ladies, if you are with a man that's like this, get out. Just get out. Be with a man that treats you like the queen that you are. Okay, so let's talk about the trial, the ending, the judgment. He was actually convicted of manslaughter, which basically means it was an accident. You killed someone. You should have known better. It was your fault, but it wasn't premeditated. The sentence was 6 years. However, the prosecution came back and appealed that to the Supreme Court in South Africa. And they overturned the manslaughter case and said it was premeditated murder. And now he is serving 15 years. So they upgraded his murder charge from manslaughter to premeditation, first-degree murder. And he's still in jail now. And I think he's up for parole in 2023, so like in 3 more years. The jails in South Africa are not like the jails in the United States. They're pretty rough, pretty third world country type jails. So he's not living the good life right now. I want to dedicate this to Reeva and her family. I can't imagine dating someone for 3 months and just being shot, because you went on a lunch date with an ex.
I think the way that you go out, not just your journey in life, but the way that you go out and you make your exit is so important. You either made an impact in a positive way or a negative way. But just maintain integrity and maintain class and just always be true to yourself. And I'm gonna miss you all so much.